The K Jazz Show, Sundays on Kofifi FM 97.2.
Every first Sunday and last Sunday on the show, we set aside some time where we sit at the feet of our favorite musicians, learning this and that about their lives. And of course, that also includes listening closer to their music. And our guest on the show today is an accomplished American jazz musician who, under the tutelage of his father, Warren Wolf Sr., started music studies at the age of 3, learning the vibraphone, marimba, drums, and the piano, studied classical music at the Baltimore School for the Arts, and then later went to Berklee College of Music, where he studied jazz performance. Warren Wolf, of course, has performed with renowned jazz musicians such as Wynton Marsalis, Christian McBride, Aaron Diehl, and Bobby Watson, just to name a few. And he has also, released several albums as a leader, including Incredible Jazz Vibes, Reincarnation, Black Wolf, Wolfgang, and Convergence, showcasing his compositions and his ability to lead the band. He joins us this Sunday to reflect on his journey in jazz. And we also get to chat about the brand new project, Channel Pozo, and also listen to some of this music as he is our cover story. Warren, good afternoon and welcome to South Africa. Welcome to Kofifi FM 97.2.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. I discovered your work, Warren, when I was introduced to the album Convergence, and that was a project from 2016. But you've been in the scene for many years before that. Let's reflect on this timeline, beginning in Baltimore, where your journey with music really started.
I started playing music in general as a very young kid when I was about 3 years old under the tutelage of my father, Warren Wolf Sr. Now, he was just a American history teacher. He taught United States history and world history. But on the side, when he was not teaching, he loved playing music with his friends. So he himself started playing music in the early 70s. And then when I was born in 1979, he decided, I'm going to teach my son how to play. So I started playing music, learning how to play the vibraphone, marimba, drum set, and piano. I learned all of this stuff at a very young age. But it was not necessarily geared toward playing jazz music. My father had me playing everything from jazz to classical to ragtime, popular music. We did a lot of different things back in the early 80s.
And that's what I find interesting, because you were initially a classical music student, and then later you then changed or maybe moved the repertoire to include jazz music. What inspired the transition, though?
Well, playing classical music was a lot of fun, and it still is a lot of fun. However, my dad wanted me to be the complete musician, to have an understanding of everything. So it's kind of like a race up the ladder. My classical music game was really high, but not necessarily jazz music, but just playing anything like popular music was really low. So he started to play like certain artists such as Charlie Parker and Miles Davis and Milt Jackson. He started to play records around the house.
Yeah.
And I really did not understand improv at all. It was just, I didn't understand what they were doing. It sounded good, but I just did not understand it. But eventually over time, once I started to mix with certain older musicians in Baltimore, playing with friends around town in school, the school bands and things like that, I started to really understand what was going on. Things really started to click somewhere around 1994, 1995. I said, wow, I kind of understand what's going on now. By this time, this is when I pretty much graduated from high school, and that's when I enrolled at the Berklee College of Music in 1997.
Yeah.
From this point, I was pretty much done playing classical music, and I decided to go full steam ahead, just playing jazz music.
And full steam you did, because you got to play alongside big names, in the business. I'm talking about Wynton Marsalis and Christian McBride, just to name, amongst others, I suppose. Tell me about your experiences with these artists, and how it shaped the way you compose and perform your music.
Wow. I mean, everybody has their own unique way of, what they did. Not saying they actually sat me down and said, Warren, do this, do that. Just being around certain musicians, I've learned certain things. Like Wynton Marsalis, he can play everything on the trumpet, but he pretty much, and still to this day, has a very old school approach, like sticking with Louis Armstrong. I'll learn like the deep blues from that. To Bobby Watson, I've learned like from the tutelage, all of his knowledge coming from Art Blakey. I've learned stuff from that. Christian McBride, I've learned how to just basically just combine everything and just perform is like to the max.
Yeah.
Groups like the SF Jazz Collective, I'm in that group. That's a group full of all-stars. And in that group, we pretty much just compose and write for each other. We challenge each other musically. Yeah, so much stuff that I've just tried to pull from everybody. And that's always been the name of the game. Yeah. Whenever I meet a musician, it does not have to be jazz. It can be anything. Whenever I meet a musician that I really like, I try to just zone in on what you're doing, and I try to retrieve information that I like that and stick it with my own playing.
course, Kofifi FM, spending time with Warren Wolf here on the KJ Show. He is the cover story, and we're talking about his musical timeline, including sharing some of his music. Now, your latest project, Chano Pozo Origins, is out, and you solo recorded this during the pandemic, under your own record label, Wolfpack Records, since leaving Mac Avenue. Let's talk about, this project, how it came about, and what inspired it.
Well, the deep beginnings of it was my last record on Mac Avenue. It's kind of started there. So when we recorded my last record on Mac Avenue, which was titled Christmas Vibes, the night we recorded the Christmas Vibes record right in during the middle of the pandemic, right when everything shut down here in the United States. And I remember the night before we were to go into the studio, my pianist called me and said, I'm not going to make it, because he was very nervous about being around people.
Yeah.
So what went through my mind right there, I said, wow, who can I find to play piano at the very last minute? But then I thought to myself, I said, wait, Warren, I'm telling myself, I can play piano,
right?
It'll be a little bit more work. It shifts the schedule a little bit, but I'll do it. So the next day, myself, the drummer, and the bass player, we went and we recorded 13 tracks of just me playing piano with the rhythm section. And then the following day, I came back and I laid down all vibraphone parts and, anything extra. Yeah. And once I listened to it, I said, wow, it actually sounds pretty good. I've never recorded myself just playing piano, me playing everything. So once we were fully into the pandemic, I started to just think, I was like, man, I'm tired of just practicing, toward YouTube recordings. And my wife was not trying to let anybody come over to the house. And I started to, I said, what can I do? I need to do something different. So basically I went out and bought some recording equipment. And I started to record certain jazz standards as a guinea pig test to see how it would work. So I would record any song and leave gaps in that song, and I would send it to a friend. I say, hey man, can you record over this for me? I just want to see what it sounds like. And it sounded fine. And then I started to just sit down and think, well, I need a new record out. I need a new record. I need a new project. What can I do that's completely different than the previous 9 records that I've done?
Yeah.
The majority of those records have always been pretty much straight ahead jazz, just swing music all the way, but started to have little hints at certain things. So I said I need to do something very special. So I called up a bunch of friends. I had some ideas for the music already, but I called up some friends to go into the studio and record with me. But nothing against these guys, because they deserve it. They wanted a lot of money. And it was a little bit more money than I was willing to spend. So again, that thought came back, like the same thought I had with the Christmas Vibes record. Wait, Warren, you play drums, you play bass, you play keyboards, you've been working with a lot of different things. Why don't you record it by yourself? So I decided to do that. So I sat down. It took me about maybe 7 days to make the whole records.
Wow.
I usually, and I made everything here in my house, in my studio. I started with the bass tracks to the keyboard tracks, then to the drums, then to the vibes. Oh. And then I'll start adding anything else after that, Fender Rhodes, organ, percussion, things like that. Yeah. Once I was done with the core part of that, I actually did go into the studio, and that's when I called the services of Sean Jones and some other horn players, because I don't play horns.
Right.
But I did go into the studio and record them, and that's when I started to, I had the idea of, using the talk box, because again, I wanted to just do something completely different. Everything about this record was just something different than what people have come to know me for. So, that's how the album took shape.
I love it. And you composed most of the tracks, right? Except for that one composition, Lady, which is a D'Angelo original. And you've also mentioned that you enjoy listening to the music of the likes of Joe Scott, Raphael Sadiq, and many others. What connects you, Warren, to the R&B and neo soul sound?
Well, I've always been that person. So even going back to a kid, I like to tell people, I was not raised in a jazz household. It wasn't like, if you came to our house, you heard Miles Davis and Charlie Parker being played all day. Yeah. We heard everything. So my dad and my mother, they both grew up in the 50s and 60s. So I heard a lot of Motown. I heard the Temptations and the Stylistic. I heard all of these groups around. I got to give credit to my two older sisters. I'm the baby of three. Growing up in the early 80s, I had my first introduction to hip hop.
Right.
Like I used to listen to Run DMC, the Fat Boys, and the Beastie Boys, New Edition. I used to listen to all of those groups.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, my dad still played a little bit of jazz, but like Grover Washington, Milt Jackson, just a little bit. So when I really started to come into music, like my own, not listening to my sisters and so much, it was in the 90s, when I was in high school. And I used to really love listening to artists like from Death Row, like Tupac Shakur is my favorite rapper.
Right.
But then I'll never forget it because I never knew what the sound of a Fender Rhodes was. So I was watching MTV one day when they used to have music videos on MTV.
Right.
And I saw this artist and he was playing the song called Cruisin'. Cruisin' is a song that D'Angelo recorded, but I didn't know that the song was actually composed by Smokey Robinson.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I heard that and I heard this sound. I said, wow, who is this? This is pretty good. And I went out and I bought his record, Brown Sugar. And Brown Sugar, D'Angelo has only released 3 records in almost 20 years. So I listened to the whole record, Brown Sugar. I thought it was great. But then that one song that really just got me was Lady.
Yeah.
And also back when we used to actually look at videos of these songs, the video was even smoother. So it's a song even in 2023 and before this that I will always continue to play. It's been one of my favorite songs.
Wow.
So I said, you know what? Let me put a very popular song. I've always been that person to put like at least one song on the record that everybody knows. So I said, let me go ahead and do Lady. I wanted to make the song still singable to the point where people would recognize it. I just kind of flipped the chords around a little bit, to give it more like a smooth jazz sound. But it's the same song. It's like if people were to hear this version of it, they can still sing the exact same thing as if D'Angelo were singing it.
I'll be
Love it, because it's one of the tracks that I keep going back to because of that. That throwback element that's in there. Love it, love it. Now, I wanted to ask the significance of the name Chano Pozo. What does that mean?
So, Chano Pozo he's a percussionist. He was a percussionist who played with Dizzy Gillespie back in the day. He was a Latin Afro-American, not Afro-Cuban percussionist. But coming up as a kid, again, my dad, who was a musician, he loved playing percussion music as well. He gave me the name Chano Pozo when I was born. That's not my government name. My government name is Warren Wolf. But as a nickname, he gave himself, like my father's nickname, his nickname was Masaga, Masaga.
Okay.
But his real name is Warren Wolf Sr., and my name is Warren Wolf Jr., but he gave me Chano. Now, coming up as a kid, I did not know what that meant. I thought, my name is Chano. Right. So everybody in the neighborhood, they all called me Chano. Nobody knows who this percussion player is. It was just, okay, that's Chano, and he plays drums. It wasn't until many years later that I found out, I'm named after this guy who was a percussion player with Dizzy Gillespie. Right. I never asked my dad why, because it was just kind of late for me. But that's what it is. He just decided to, I guess, if I had to take a guess, it's because my dad really loved the way he played drums. So he decided to call me Chano. So I decided to title with the record that Chano Pozo Origins. Is basically, you're looking at my alter ego. Right. Like most people know Warren Wolf as the vibraphone player, but they don't know that Chano Pozo also plays all this other stuff.
Oh man,
so this is why I called it Origins, because I'm taking people back to when I was a kid. When like a kid for me, it's still even a teenager. With D'Angelo, you're hearing like on the tune Sunday Morning. You're hearing me like kind of take it, kind of church vibes a little bit. I did not grow up in church, but I did spend time at church with my ex-wife. But I'm just taking people back on a origins journey to when I was a kid to see how like some music have shaped me all around.
Wow. Kofifi FM still, in conversation. It is the cover story with Mr. Warren Wolf Jr.
Yes.
And he's talking about...
But you can call me Chano.
Well, he can call him Chano too. Listen, we are on a first name basis here on the K-Jazz Show. Chano Nwako. We keep it tight. I want to talk about, the lyric suite for sextet. That is a Chick Corea original, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
How did that come about?
During the pandemic, I had a concert that the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra had asked me to perform with them. They called and they said, Warren, we would love to feature you. We're doing these closed sessions with the symphony. You can perform whatever you want. And I've always wanted to do something with the symphony orchestra, like a jazz quartet with a symphony orchestra backing me. But the budget wasn't there for that project. So I decided, I was just thinking about like, man, what can I do? Maybe I could do something with a string quartet. So I called one of the legendary vibraphone players, Gary Burton, who spent time with Chick Corea. I called him and I said, Gary, are you familiar with any pieces, anything that you've done with a string quartet? Because I know I've seen some video where Gary and Chick have played with the Harlem String Quartet in the past couple of years. And Gary said, yeah, actually, I recorded this piece with Chick Corea with a string quartet back in 1983 or 84. It's called the Lyric Suite for Sextet. And I said, wow, okay, let me check it out. And I listened to it. The music was pretty much majority classical music with very few hints of improvisation.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I was like, wow, this is something totally cool. It's not just the other way around where, most of us, we are just playing the melody and then we solo melody. This was something that was completely different. And, I've done 2 performances of that piece so far, and I'm hoping in the future that I can do more of that. I believe I can possibly take that into different arenas, not necessarily jazz clubs and not necessarily major festivals, but it can be a classical festival. It can be classical halls. I'm trying to look more into that type of stuff.
a new horizon slowly coming into view. I wanna be living for the love of you. Yeah, all that I'm giving is for the love of you. Lovely as a ray of sun that touches me when the morning comes, feels good to me. My love and me. Smoother than a gentle breeze, flowing through my mind with ease, soft as can be. When you're loving me, love to be riding the waves of your love, enchant with your touch, and seems to be we could sail together in and out of mystery. I wanna be living for the love of you. All that I'm giving is for the love of you. Paradise I have within, can't feel secure again. You're the key, and this I see. Now and then I lose my way, using words I try to say how I feel. Your love is real, oh so real. Might as well sign my name on a card, which could say it better. Time will tell, 'cause it seems that I've done just about all I can do. I know that I'm living for the love of you. Oh yeah, all that I'm giving is for the love of you. All that I'm giving is for the love of you. There's no that I'm living for the love of you.
Now that the project is out, Chano is out, what's next for?
What's next? Well, the Lyrics Week is definitely one. I definitely looking forward to recording that. I'm actually making another record in December. It's titled Warren Wolf and the History of the Vibes. I've been touring this project a lot because people really like this program. The program is basically, showing people how the sound of the vibraphone has evolved from the 1930s up until today.
Yeah.
So usually in this program, I cover one vibraphonist, like during that, like each time period, from Terry Gibbs to Lionel Hampton to Chick Corea to Roy Ayers. So when people hear the show, you hear all of these different styles, from early swing to bebop to hard bop to Latin music to fusion to groove to something that you'll hear today. And if I had to pick something else, some other things that I'm thinking about for the future, I have a very good friend. He's like a rock drummer. His name is Thomas Pridgeon. He lives in California. At some point, I don't know when, but at some point I would love to do like a metal record.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, still mixed with like improvisation, like not just playing random notes, but
right.
It's just the sheer energy of what he does on the drums.
Wow.
I want to feel that with what I like to do. So it's kind of be a mashup of the two.
Well, we look forward to hearing it and possibly talking about it again. As a direction that you're taking. As I think, I suppose, as a musician, you kind of grow in different directions from your styles and how you kind of interpret stuff, and it all just builds up. We look forward to just experiencing all of it, though.
Definitely, it's very cool to just continue to grow. I got to say, 2 nights ago, I saw a screening of a movie featuring drummer Max Roach, and Max Roach talked about how he started with Charlie Parker, and then he started another group with trumpeter Clifford Brown,
Yeah.
and then he started another group with his soon to be wife, then ex-wife Abby Lincoln,
Yeah.
and then he started another group with this group called M Boom. So it's like you never. Not saying you have to. There's no golden rule, but for me as an artist, I don't want to just stay stagnant. Like I said, I had 7 records of pretty much straight ahead jazz, and then records 8 and 9, I started to hint at something else, and then number 10 came out. It was something completely different.
Yeah.
So it's always just about growth and continue to evolve.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we do here. Of course, Kofifi FM here with Mr. Warren Wolf Channel. He's chatting about everything music. And we've also been sharing some of this music throughout this past hour. Now, as we wrap up our fellowship, on your Instagram page, you post about running, you walk in different cities, you're visiting interesting places, waterfalls, and maybe hiking here and there. Would you say you're an avid fan of the outside, though?
Yes,
being
very
on the
much.
outside. Yeah.
Very much. I like to just move. I like to see different places. I remember last year I did a tour of Europe. I did multiple tours of Europe last year, but there's one particular tour I went out with Christian McBride for 3 weeks, all around different cities in Europe. And I made it a goal, even though I was tired from the jet lag, to go out either before the show or after the show, and I would just walk for maybe, that's not a lot, but it is a lot, 3 or 4 miles.
Yeah.
Because, I did not want to be that musician who just shows up to these wonderful cities, you relax in a hotel, sound check, show, and then sleep. I said, no, I want to go and actually experience something, just see the world a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm definitely an avid fan of being outside.
Oh man, we love it. We love it. And of course, thank you though, for chatting to us this Sunday. And we are putting it out there in the universe, right? That always kind of helps. That someday we'll see you, on one of our stages here in South Africa.
Yes, I hope so. I've never been, and I'm looking forward to it. All I hear is nothing but great positive things about South Africa. So,
oh man, we're grateful
definitely
and thank you. And thank you, for joining us and saying yes to this conversation, because I really think we just bring a step closer to those who celebrate and follow your music, as we keep sharing it here on the show. And until then, we'll keep listening, and then one day we'll definitely see you on one of our stages. That's
definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, cross fingers. He is a composer, band leader, and educator, vibraphonist. Channel Warren Wolf on the KJS Show.